So in this video, we're going to put everything we've learned all together and talk about solving multi-step equations that have a variable on both sides. So when we put this all together, these are going to be our steps. So we're going to start off by simplifying. So when we simplify, we're going to use the distributive property and combining like terms to simplify any expressions that we have in our equation. Then we're going to move all of our variables to one side. Then we're going to add or subtract to move constants away from our variable, and then multiply or divide to make the coefficient of the variable 1. So let's try solving this equation. 8 times d plus 2 minus 36 equals 2 plus 6 times 1 minus d. So I like to work with each side of my equation individually and then simplify those expressions. So I'm going to start off with the left side. So I'm going to start off by distributing the 8. So that gives me 8d plus 8 times 2 minus 36. So 8d plus 8 times 2 is 16, and then we have minus 36. So I can go ahead and combine the like terms I have on my left side. So I have 16 minus 36, so that's going to be minus 20. So I get 8d minus 20 on the left side of my equation. Now let's work with the right side. So I have this 6 here that needs to be distributed. So I have 2 plus 6 times 1 minus 6 times d. So that's going to give me 2 plus 6 times 1 is 6 minus 6 times d is 6d. So now let's combine these like terms that we have. I have 2 plus 6, which is 8. So I have 8 minus 6d. Now let's move all the variables to one side of the equation. So on the right side, I have minus 6d. So I'm going to do the opposite, which is add 6d to both sides. So when I do that, I get 8d plus 6d, which is 14d, minus 20, and that equals 8. And then minus 6d and plus 6d will combine and cancel each other out. So now I need to add 20 to both sides to undo that minus 20. So when I do that, I get 14d, minus 20 and plus 20 will cancel, and 8 plus 20 will give me 28. Now I need to divide both sides by 14 to isolate the variable, and that is going to give me d equals 28 divided by 14, which is 2. Now let's try solving this equation. 0.2 times 6x minus 14 equals 0.4 times 10 minus 2x. So I'm going to start off by simplifying the expressions on the left side of my equation. I'm going to distribute that 0.2. So that gives me 0.2 times 6x minus 0.2 times 14. 0.2 times 6x gives me 1.2x minus 0.2 times 14 gives me 2.8. And so now my left side is completely simplified. Now let's simplify the right side. I'm going to distribute 0.4. So that gives me 0.4 times 10 minus 0.4 times 2x. 0.4 times 10 is going to give me 4 minus 0.4 times 2x is going to be 0.8x. So now I need to move all of my variables to one side of the equation. So I'm going to do the opposite of minus 0.8x and add 0.8x to both sides. So 1.2x plus 0.8x gives me 2x. Bring down the minus 2.8, and that equals 4. Minus 0.8 and plus 0.8 will cancel. Now to isolate the variable, I'm going to add 2.8 to both sides. So when I do that, I get 2x. Minus 2.8 and plus 2.8 will cancel, and giving me 2x equals 4 plus 2.8, which is 6.8. Now I'm going to undo 2 times x by dividing both sides by 2, and that gives me x equals 3.4. So now let's try solving this equation. 4x minus 8 plus x equals negative 2x plus 3. So here I'm distributing after a subtraction. So I'm going to do that extra step we talk about, and I'm going to rewrite this as 4x plus negative 8 plus x. So what number am I distributing? Well, remember in algebra, we normally don't write coefficients of 1. Coefficients of 1 are just implied. So I can basically write that 1 in there, and that means that I'm distributing negative 1. So that gives me 4x plus negative 1 times 8 plus negative 1 times x. So this gives me 4x plus negative 1 times 8, which is negative 8, plus negative 1 times x, which is negative x. Now I'm going to go through and get rid of some of these double signs. So plus negative will, remember, turn into a subtract. So I have 4x minus 8 minus x. Now I need to combine the like terms I have. So I have 4x, and you can see here I have this minus x term. So I'm going to combine those two terms, and then I have minus 8. 4x minus x, remember that minus x is basically a 1x. So 4x minus 1x is 3x. So I have 3x minus 8 as my simplified form of my left side of the equation. Now I need to work on simplifying the right side. Well, I have negative 2x plus 3. Remember, that basically means there's a negative 1 in front of that 2x plus 3. So I'm going to go ahead and distribute that negative 1. So when I do that, I get negative 1 times 2x plus negative 1 times 3. Negative 1 times 2x is negative 2x plus negative 1 times 3 is negative 3. Now this plus negative, I'm going to take that, I'm going to combine those signs, so I get negative 2x minus 3. And that on my right side is fully simplified, so I'm just going to copy that down here. So now I need to move all of my variables to one side of my equation. So this minus 2x, I'm going to do the opposite, and I'm going to add 2x to both sides. So when I do that, I get 3x plus 2x, which is 5x, minus 8 equals, minus 2x and plus 2x will cancel, so 5x plus 8 equals negative 3. So 5x minus 8 equals negative 3. Now I'm going to do the opposite of minus 8, and then I'm going to add 8 to both sides. So I get 5x, minus 8 and plus 8 will cancel, and I have negative 3 plus 8, which is 5. Now I need to divide both sides by 5, and then I get x equals 1. So let's solve the equation 0.25 times x plus 40 equals 28 plus 0.75 times 2x minus 4. So I'm going to start off by simplifying the left side of my equation. So that gives me 0.25 times x plus 0.25 times 40. So I get 0.25x plus 0.25 times 40 is 10. So now my left side is fully simplified. On the right side, I have 28, and then I need to distribute this 0.75. So I have 28 plus 0.75 times 2x minus 0.75 times 4. So that gives me 28 plus 0.75 times 2x is 1.5x minus 0.75 times 4 is 3. So now I have some like terms on my right side that I need to combine. I have this 28 and minus 3. So I have 28 minus 3 plus 1.5x. So when I combine those terms, I get 25 plus 1.5x, and that's now simplified. So I'm just going to copy this left side down here. Now I need to move all my variables to one side. I'm going to subtract 1.5x from both sides. and that is going to give me negative 1.25x plus 10 equals 25. Now to isolate the variable, I need to subtract 10 from both sides. And that will give me negative 1.25x equals 15. So if negative 1.25x equals 15, I can solve this equation by dividing both sides by negative 1.25. So when I do that, this will cancel, leaving me with x equals negative 12. So remember, when you solve multi-step equations with a variable on both sides, we're going to start off simplifying, using the distributive property and combining like terms. Then we're going to move all of our variables to one side. We're going to add or subtract to move constants away from the variable, and then multiply or divide to make the coefficient of the variable 1.